When Howard Schultz was just 7 years old, he lived in the housing projects of Brooklyn. His father was a truck driver, no insurance, no benefits, no safety net. One day, his father slipped on ice while working and broke his leg. And just like that, they fired him. No compensation, no support, just silence. His father's dignity was shattered in a system that didn't care. Howard saw it all. The pain, the fear, the sense of being invisible. And though he didn't understand business yet, didn't have money, didn't have connections, he made a silent vow. One day, I will become someone who chooses his future, not someone who reacts to it. Years passed, struggles, odd jobs, dead ends. But that promise stayed alive. It became a voice in his head whispering, "Become the kind of person success can't ignore, not the loudest, not the luckiest, just the most determined." That boy would go on to become the founder of Starbucks, not just a coffee empire, but a company that offered healthcare even to part-time employees. Not because Howard was born exceptional, but because he decided to become someone who built from the inside out. And that's where this conversation begins. Success isn't something you chase, it's something you become. When your habits, thoughts, and identity align with your vision, success becomes the natural result. Today's episode is about that transformation, the kind that begins in silence, deep inside, and reshapes your entire life. Who you become shapes everything: your relationships, your routines, your future. It's not a motivational slogan. It's a quiet reality that plays out every time you make a decision, even a small one. The habits you build, the thoughts you repeat, the way you respond when things don't go your way, all of it is constructing the person you're stepping into tomorrow. And the future isn't waiting for some perfect version of you. It's being built by the version you show up as today. That's the uncomfortable truth most people try to ignore. But the ones who embrace it, they begin to live on a different level. They stop outsourcing their growth to chance. They stop waiting for external change and realize that internal change must come first. Your mindset. It's the filter through which you see the world. And if that filter is clouded by self-doubt, procrastination, or fear, success won't even recognize you when it passes by. But when you decide, truly decide, to align your actions with the vision you hold, something shifts. You stop needing permission. You stop explaining your dreams. You simply become the kind of person who follows through. There's a kind of power that comes from consistency, not perfection, but presence. Being present in your process, even when progress feels invisible. The world respects those who respect their own path. That's why some people seem to draw opportunities with ease, because they've become the type of person who's ready for them. It's not luck, it's preparation meeting identity. They walk like they belong, they think like they're already there, and eventually the world adjusts to match that belief. This isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about shedding who you're not. It's about letting go of the excuses, the outdated stories, the limitations you didn't even choose, but inherited. And then choosing differently, choosing growth even when it's uncomfortable, choosing direction over distraction, choosing to live with purpose rather than convenience. Because success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who prepare, quietly, daily, relentlessly, until the gap between who they are and who they want to be no longer exists. Most people set goals the way they make wishes, vague, hopeful, and far removed from the steps that would actually bring them to life. But success doesn't respond to hope. It responds to clarity. When you know exactly what you want and why, it becomes much harder to drift. Without purpose, even the best strategies crumble. But when your goals are tied to something meaningful, something personal, They stop being tasks and start becoming commitments. This is why drifting feels so heavy, because it drains you without direction. You're busy, but not moving, tired, but not fulfilled. That's what happens when you react to life instead of designing it. The people who build something lasting, the ones who seem to bend time and opportunity to their will, don't have more hours in the day. They just use their hours differently, with precision, with structure, with intention. They don't say, "I want to be successful." They define what success means, break it into steps, and start walking. That's what separates movement from progress. And here's what most people forget. Success is measurable. If you can't track it, you can't grow it. So they reverse engineer it. They look at the mountain and start by asking, "What's the first small rock I need to step over?" They set goals that are specific, time-bound, and grounded in action. Not dreams floating in the air, but targets marked on the map. That's why they don't get lost. And when the journey gets tough, and it always does, clarity is what keeps them moving. The truth is, vague ambition is the enemy of success. If your goal is just to do better, you'll always wonder why you're stuck. But if your goal is to launch that project in 30 days, now we're in motion. Now there's accountability. Now there's urgency. So ask yourself, are you setting goals that excite you or just ones that sound good on paper? Because if your goals don't make you a little uncomfortable, you're playing too small. Growth doesn't live in comfort. It lives in the stretch, in the challenge that makes you rise a little higher, work a little smarter, believe a little deeper. And the final truth? A goal without action is just a wish. A plan without commitment is just a daydream. The ones who succeed are not the ones who think the most. They're the ones who move, and they keep moving, especially when it's hard. Life doesn't hand out progress wrapped in perfection. It offers it through resistance, and at some point you will hit a wall, a setback, a failure that stings deeper than expected. And in that moment, something happens. Not outside, but inside. You either choose to fall into the spiral of defeat, or you choose to rise, wiser, harder, better. That's the dividing line between those who grow and those who give up. It's not talent, it's not timing, it's resilience. Setbacks are not the opposite of success. They're part of the formula. Think about every person who's built something real, whether in business, art, sports, or life itself. Look closer and you'll see not just highlight reels, but scars, rejection, disappointment, moments where they could have said, "Maybe this isn't for me," and walked away. But they didn't, and that decision to stay in the game when it hurt, that's where comebacks are born. This is why resilience matters more than almost anything else. It's not about avoiding failure, it's about what you do with it. Do you freeze? Do you blame? Or do you step back, assess, adapt, and return sharper than before? That mindset shift from "why me" to "what is this trying to teach me?" can change your entire life trajectory. Failure brings feedback. It exposes weak spots. It challenges your identity, but only if you're willing to listen. Most people are too busy protecting their ego to learn from their losses. They see failure as proof that they're not good enough. But those who thrive, they see it as data. They analyze, adjust, and return with clarity. They don't let pain become paralysis. They let it become power. Resilience also means showing up when it's inconvenient, not just when the sun is out, but when the storm rolls in. It means continuing the work even when you feel tired, unseen, or unsure, because that's when most people stop. And that's exactly why pushing through gives you an edge. Every time you get back up, you're not the same person who fell. You're stronger. And your actions carry more weight because they're rooted in endurance, not emotion. This doesn't mean you won't feel broken at times. You will, but broken doesn't mean beaten. It means you're alive. It means the path is real, and real paths have cracks, but cracks can be walked. What can't be walked is a path that ends the moment it gets difficult. So when life tests you, and it will, don't just react, respond. Don't just recover, rebuild, and not back to what you were, but into something you've never been before. That's the power of a comeback. It's not about returning to where you were. It's about rising beyond it, with a story written in scars and a heart that never learned how to quit. There's a silent power that lives inside those who truly believe in themselves. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for attention. It moves with quiet certainty, a calm confidence that doesn't need approval to act. This kind of belief is not loud and it's not flashy, but it is unshakable. It holds firm when everything else feels unstable. And it becomes the anchor you return to when the world gets noisy, when people doubt you, when progress is slow and the future feels unclear. The truth is, you can't build anything lasting if you don't believe you deserve it. That belief is the foundation beneath every risk you take, every challenge you face, and every goal you chase. Without it, you second-guess every step. You shrink in rooms where you were meant to stand tall. You wait for signs, for validation, for someone else to give you permission. But those who rise, who build lives of meaning and impact, don't wait to be chosen. They choose themselves. Self-belief isn't something you either have or don't. It's something you build, day by day, choice by choice. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you take action, even while afraid, every time you silence the inner critic and let the wiser part of you speak louder. That's how belief grows. Not from applause, but from consistency. Not from outcomes, but from effort. The real measure of confidence is not how loudly you talk about your goals. It's how quietly you keep working toward them when no one's watching. History is full of people who had no reason to believe, no experience, no resources, no support, but they chose belief anyway. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. The Wright brothers were mocked for chasing the sky. Even Einstein was labeled slow as a child, and yet they kept moving. Not because they knew they would succeed, but because they believed in the possibility that they might. That belief was enough to carry them through the rejections, the failures, the long nights of uncertainty. And that's the part no one sees. We admire the results, but we forget the internal war it took to get there, because belief is constantly under attack, by doubt, by fear, by past wounds that whisper, "You're not enough." But when you learn to answer those whispers with action, with persistence, with quiet faith, you stop being controlled by them. And something extraordinary begins to happen. The world starts to reflect your belief back to you. Doors open. People notice. Momentum builds. Not because you forced it, but because you became the kind of person who attracts it. Self-belief is not arrogance. It's not pretending you're perfect or untouchable. It's the grounded knowing that you are capable of growth, of change, of excellence. That no matter how far you feel from where you want to be, you are willing to walk the path. That willingness is everything. So believe, not because someone else said you can, but because you've decided that your life is worth fighting for. Because deep down, you know you are more than your doubts, more than your fears, more than the limits you've accepted in the past. Believe and keep moving. If success had a gatekeeper, something that quietly decides who gets in and who stays stuck, it wouldn't be luck or talent or even intelligence. It would be discipline. Discipline is the key that unlocks every door. It's not dramatic. It doesn't need an audience. But it shows up, day after day, long after excitement has faded. It's what makes someone keep going when every part of them wants to stop. And it's the reason some people turn dreams into results, while others keep circling the same goals year after year. Most people wait for motivation. They want to feel ready, feel inspired, feel excited. But motivation is fleeting. It comes in waves and disappears just as fast. You can't build a legacy on something that changes with your mood. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't need the perfect moment. It just asks one thing: will you show up anyway? And that's the difference. The people who succeed, they don't always want to do the hard things, but they do them anyway. They train when they're tired. They write when the page is blank. They study when distractions call their name. They've trained their minds to obey commitment, not comfort. And that's what makes them unstoppable. Discipline is a muscle, and like any muscle, it's built through repetition. Small acts of follow-through. Choosing action over excuse. Honoring your word, even when no one's watching. It's waking up on time. Finishing what you started. Saying no to what feels good now, for what matters more later. These don't feel heroic in the moment, but stack enough of them, and you'll find yourself in places that once felt out of reach. The truth is, talent is overrated. Intelligence is common, but the ability to stay consistent, especially when it's inconvenient, that's rare. That's what separates those who perform once from those who perform for a lifetime. And it's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about having every reason to quit and choosing not to. You can have the best plan, the clearest goals, the biggest dreams, but if you don't have the discipline to act on them, they mean nothing. Ideas are easy, execution is rare, and execution belongs to the disciplined. So ask yourself, are your daily habits leading you where you want to go? Or are they keeping you exactly where you've been? The answer to that question holds more power than any motivational speech ever could. In the end, discipline isn't just about work. It's about self-respect. It's saying, I matter enough to keep my word to myself. My future matters enough to act with intention, even when it's hard. Because the person who builds that kind of discipline is the person success cannot ignore. The world is changing faster than ever. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow, and that's not a reason to panic. It's a reason to adapt. The people who thrive in this world, who stay relevant, who continue to evolve, they are not the ones clinging to what they already know. They are the ones committed to learning, relentlessly, continuously, not because they have to, but because they understand something essential. Stagnation is the slow death of potential. Learning isn't just about gaining knowledge. It's about staying sharp, open, and ready for what's next. It's the difference between reacting to change and leading it. And the most dangerous mindset you can carry into the future is believing you already know enough. Because the moment you stop learning, you start falling behind. Not in comparison to others, but in comparison to who you could have been. Adaptability is the partner of growth. You cannot grow if you're not willing to let go of outdated beliefs, expired routines, or familiar comfort zones. And yet, most people cling to what's safe. They resist new ideas. They fear change. They pretend that what worked once will always work. But the world doesn't care about what used to work. It rewards those who are flexible, curious, and humble enough to keep learning. Reading, observing, questioning. These are not just academic exercises. They are tools of self-transformation. They sharpen your mind, stretch your perspective, and prepare you to face what others avoid. But more importantly, learning without application is just noise. It's easy to consume books, podcasts, advice, and never change. Real learning happens when knowledge meets action, when you apply what you know, when you try, fail, adjust, and grow. And this kind of learning never ends. The best in any field, whether it's athletes, entrepreneurs, scientists, or creators, see themselves as students first. They are constantly studying the game, refining their craft, staying ahead, not just through effort, but through evolution. That's how they stay exceptional, not by being the smartest in the room, but by being the most committed to getting smarter. So ask yourself, when was the last time you learned something that made you uncomfortable? When was the last time you changed your opinion because you found something more true? That's the test. Not how much you know, but how willing you are to keep growing. The mind is a tool, but only if it's kept sharp. Let it go dull, and no amount of talent will save you. But if you keep feeding it, challenging it, stretching it, you'll become someone who not only handles change, but thrives in it. In a world that never stops moving, staying still is the most dangerous move of all. So move, learn, adapt, evolve. Look around at the people you spend the most time with. Really look. Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Are they expanding your vision or shrinking it? It's easy to underestimate the influence of your environment, but make no mistake, your circle is shaping your future, quietly, daily, and often without your awareness. The conversations you have, the standards you're surrounded by, the mindset you absorb just by being in a room, it all becomes part of who you are becoming. There's a reason high performers are so intentional about their relationships. They know that success isn't just about hard work. It's also about the energy around you. Spend enough time with people who make excuses, and excuses will start to feel normal. But spend time with those who expect more of themselves, and suddenly, raising your standards won't feel optional. It'll feel inevitable. Energy is contagious. So is discipline. So is mediocrity. The people closest to you aren't just influencing your mood, they're influencing your habits, your beliefs, your goals. That's why successful people protect their environment like their future depends on it, because it does. They seek mentors, they surround themselves with ambition, they cut ties with negativity, not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. This isn't about perfection. It's not about only keeping high-level people in your life. It's about being conscious, about who gets your time, who gets your energy, and who gets to speak into your vision. Not everyone deserves access to your dreams. Some people only see your potential as a reminder of their own inaction, and they'll try to dim your light to feel more comfortable in their shadow. You have to guard against that. Sometimes growth means letting go, not out of anger, not out of ego, but out of clarity, because you're not the same person you were. And if the people around you aren't evolving with you, they might be holding you still. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to love someone from a distance. What's not okay is to shrink yourself to fit into a version of life you've already moved beyond. Ask yourself honestly, who in your life pushes you to be better? Who holds you accountable when you slack off? Who celebrates your growth instead of feeling threatened by it? That's your circle. That's your tribe. Find more of them. Nurture those relationships. Because the right people won't just support your goals, they'll raise your standards. They'll remind you who you are when you forget. They'll challenge your excuses and reflect your potential. And when your environment matches your ambition, something powerful happens. Progress feels natural. Discipline feels lighter. You stop having to explain your dreams because the people around you already speak that language. You're not dragging them along, they're walking beside you. And that kind of alignment? That's rare, that's powerful, and that's a choice you get to make. So choose wisely, because your future isn't just shaped by your actions, it's shaped by the people you allow to influence them. Most people live their lives through a lens of limitation. They look at the world and see scarcity of time, of opportunities, of love, of money. They believe there's only so much to go around, and if someone else wins, they must lose. And so they tighten up. They hold back. They operate from fear, not vision. But here's the shift that changes everything. The world is not limited unless you believe it is. Scarcity is a mindset. And once you start seeing that, you begin to open doors you didn't even know were there. The people who attract success don't live in fear of someone else's success. They celebrate it because to them, it's proof that more is possible, that abundance exists, that they're on the right path. They don't compare. They learn. They don't envy, they build, and they know that the game isn't about grabbing the biggest slice. It's about learning how to bake a bigger pie. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about rewiring your perspective so that you stop sabotaging yourself. Because if you believe opportunities are rare, you'll hesitate to take them. If you believe money is hard to earn, you'll avoid the risks that could grow your income. If you believe love is scarce, you'll stay in relationships that drain you just to avoid being alone. Your beliefs become your behavior, and your behavior builds your life. But when you shift into abundance, something unlocks. You stop hoarding your energy, your creativity, your ideas. You start sharing more, giving more, trusting more. You collaborate instead of compete. You see room for everyone to rise. And that change, though subtle at first, transforms the way the world responds to you. People want to work with you, not against you. Opportunities seem to find you, not because you're lucky, but because you're open. Abundance doesn't mean ignoring reality. It doesn't mean pretending everything is easy or perfect. It means choosing to believe that growth is always possible, that solutions exist, that setbacks can lead to breakthroughs, that what you have today doesn't limit what you can create tomorrow. And this belief, it's not built overnight. It's something you reinforce daily, by noticing progress, by practicing gratitude, by choosing to focus on what's working rather than obsessing over what's not. Every time you make that choice, your mindset shifts. And as your mindset shifts, your actions follow. You start moving like someone who believes good things are coming, and eventually, they do. So let go of the story that there's not enough. Let go of the fear that someone else's win means your loss. Let go of the voice that says you're too late, too old, too behind. The truth is, there's room for you. There's time for you. There's potential in you. But you'll only see it when you stop looking at life through the lens of what's missing and start looking through the lens of what's possible. There's a reason why some people work for years and feel empty, while others seem to glow with energy, even in the face of challenges. It's not just about how hard you work, it's about why you work. Purpose is the difference. Passion is the fuel, but purpose is the compass. Without it, you can be incredibly busy and still be lost. Success without purpose feels like climbing a mountain, only to realize you were scaling the wrong one. You get to the top, look around, and ask yourself, why does this still feel incomplete? That's because fulfillment isn't found in achievement alone. It's found in meaning, in knowing that your effort is connected to something deeper than applause, recognition, or a paycheck. Passion gives you energy, yes, but energy without direction burns fast. It leads to burnout, restlessness, distraction. You feel like you're pouring yourself into everything, but nothing seems to matter. That's what happens when you're driven by fire without aim. But when you connect that fire to something clear, something rooted in values, in contribution, in impact, everything shifts. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be saving the world or leading a revolution. It can be quiet, personal. It can be showing up for your family, building something that lasts, creating beauty, even in a small corner of the world. What matters is that it matters to you, because once it does, resilience becomes natural. You stop quitting when it gets hard. You stop chasing distractions. You stop living on autopilot. And that's what separates those who persist from those who pause. When you're working with purpose, you're not dependent on motivation. You're moved by meaning. You can face boredom, setbacks, fatigue, and still continue. Because the work is no longer about how you feel. It's about who you are, and what you've decided matters most. If you've ever felt like you're drifting, like your days are full but your soul feels empty, it's probably not because you're doing too little. It's because you're doing too much that doesn't align with your purpose. You need to reconnect, to ask yourself the hard questions. What truly excites you? What are you willing to struggle for? What would you do even if no one clapped for you? When your passion and your purpose finally point in the same direction, you become dangerous in the best way. You become focused, unstoppable. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" and start saying, "I must do this." Because now, success isn't just about outcomes. It's about living with integrity, with alignment, with conviction. The people who leave a mark on this world are rarely the ones with the most resources. They're the ones with the clearest why. They've found what sets their soul on fire, and they build from there, step by step, brick by brick. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for perfect. They walk with purpose, and the world makes way for them. Dreams are beautiful. They're the beginning of every breakthrough, every invention, every life-changing journey. But on their own, dreams are soft, fragile. They live in notebooks, in late-night thoughts, in whispered conversations, and they die just as quietly when action never follows. Because the harsh truth is this: dreams mean nothing if you don't act on them. The bridge between dreams and reality is not luck. It's not waiting for the perfect timing or hoping for the right opportunity. It's action, relentless, imperfect, committed action. And that's where most people stop. They think they need to feel ready. They think they need more confidence, more resources, more clarity. But action doesn't wait for confidence. It creates it. You move first, and then everything else begins to catch up. There's something magical about the first step. It's terrifying, yes, but it also breaks the illusion that you're stuck. And once that illusion cracks, momentum begins to build. Not because everything is easy, but because movement gives you access to a different version of yourself. A version that knows how to begin, how to try, how to rise. Most people underestimate what small steps can do. They want the leap, the transformation, the overnight result. But those who build real success, they know it's not about massive moves. It's about daily execution, about showing up when you're tired, about doing the work even when it feels invisible. It's about stacking effort on top of effort, until one day the weight of your consistency tips the scale. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to move. And in that movement, clarity will come, confidence will come, progress will come. But nothing comes if you stay still. Stop waiting for signs. Stop looking for guarantees. Stop rehearsing your dream in your mind and start rehearsing it in real life. Write the email, make the call, take the risk. Whatever it is, start. Because the longer you delay, the further the dream drifts from your reach. Not because it's impossible, but because you're teaching yourself to wait. And success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who build. Every goal you've ever had, every vision you've held close, it's not waiting to be discovered. It's waiting to be created by you, through action, through persistence, through days when you doubt yourself and still move anyway. So let's end with this. What's one action, one small move you can take today, not next week, not when you feel ready, right now? Do it, not because it's easy, not because you're fearless, but because your dream deserves to live outside your mind. It deserves a chance, and the only way it gets that chance is if you start walking. Everything you want, every version of yourself you admire, every outcome you imagine when your mind drifts into the future, it's not waiting for a miracle. It's waiting for you to become the person who naturally attracts those results. Not by force, not by chasing, but by building yourself from the inside out, with clarity, with intention, with relentless commitment to growth. This episode wasn't just about motivation. It was a mirror, a reflection of what's possible when you stop outsourcing your potential and start claiming it. The path to success isn't hidden. It's walked every day in the choices you make when no one is watching. In the discipline you uphold when it's not convenient. In the belief you choose when self-doubt whispers its lies. You are not limited by what you've been. You are shaped by what you're becoming, and every action, every thought, every decision is a brick in that foundation. Lay them with care. Lay them with courage. Lay them like your future depends on it, because it does. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You need a reason that matters to you and the resolve to show up even when the road is steep. Success doesn't arrive with a ceremony. It arrives quietly as the inevitable result of who you've become. So today, decide who that person is. Then go live like it, speak like it, work like it, because once your identity aligns with your vision, the world will respond in ways that feel almost effortless. But nothing about it will be luck. It will be earned by you. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this episode gave you something to think about, something to hold on to, or even just a moment of clarity, share it with someone who needs it too. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. This journey is just beginning. Until next time, stay intentional, stay disciplined, and keep becoming the person who attracts success.